If you want a different life, you must pay the price of becoming a different you. Nothing is free, nothing is easy, because what doesn't cost you cannot change you. The struggle you resist is the bridge to the life you dream of. Life, at its deepest level, is built on exchange. Every breath you take is a perfect demonstration of this law. You inhale oxygen, you exhale carbon dioxide. Nothing remains static. Every cell in your body is engaged in this cycle of giving and receiving, and without it, life would not exist. This is the hidden principle behind all creation. Nothing is free, nothing is easy, because everything requires energy to move from potential into reality. When we talk about exchange, we often think of it in terms of money, trade, or resources. But exchange is far more profound than that. It is about how the universe operates. The sun gives light and warmth, and in return, life on earth flourishes. A seed takes in water and nutrients from the soil, and in time it gives back fruit or flower. The same rule applies to human beings. Every success, every transformation, every achievement is the result of energy given and energy received. The moment you expect something for nothing, you step outside of the natural order of life. Many people crave outcomes without understanding the exchange required. They want abundance but resist the discipline of changing their thoughts. They want deep connections but avoid the vulnerability of opening their hearts. They want health but struggle with consistency in their choices. This mindset creates frustration because it collides with reality, the truth that nothing comes without cost. The cost may not always be financial. It may be time, effort, attention, or courage, but there is always an investment. Think of energy as the currency of your future. Whatever you want to create will demand a certain amount of focus, intention, and action. If you want to build a healthier body, you must invest the energy of conscious eating, exercise, and recovery. If you want to transform your mind, you must invest in new thoughts, new habits, and new emotional states. Every exchange you make is shaping who you become. You cannot take shortcuts because shortcuts only leave you in the same place you started. The beautiful truth is that this law of exchange is not meant to limit you. It is meant to empower you. When you understand that energy is required, you stop looking for life to hand you gifts and start becoming the source of your own transformation. This is where true freedom emerges. Freedom is not about escaping effort. It is about knowing that your effort has meaning. Every choice you make is a form of investment in your future self. Consider the moment you wake up in the morning. You have two choices: to remain in the familiar patterns of yesterday, or to invest energy in creating a new version of yourself. If you repeat the same thoughts, the same emotions, and the same actions, you are investing energy in recreating the same past. But if you direct your focus into gratitude, into vision, into alignment with who you want to become, you are making a new exchange. You are trading comfort for growth, and in doing so, you are setting into motion a different future. Every dream has a hidden price tag. The universe does not reveal it up front because it wants you to step into the process and discover your strength along the way. The exchange required may test your patience, your consistency, and your willingness to let go of the familiar. But that is exactly how transformation occurs. Growth demands energy because energy is the raw material of creation. Think of electricity powering a light bulb. The bulb cannot shine without energy flowing through it. In the same way, your goals and visions cannot shine into reality without the flow of your energy. The longer you resist paying the price, the longer you remain in darkness. But the moment you step forward and willingly give your energy, you begin to illuminate new possibilities. Exchange also works on the emotional level. Love is not free. It requires you to give your attention, your presence, your forgiveness. Trust is not easy. It requires you to let down your defenses, to risk being vulnerable. Even inner peace is not free. It demands that you release the old stories and emotions that weigh you down. Every elevated state of being is purchased through the energy of letting go of what no longer serves you. This is why growth can feel uncomfortable. It is not because life is unfair. It is because every higher level requires a higher investment of energy. To step into abundance, you must invest in gratitude and generosity. To step into confidence, you must invest in courage and self-belief. To step into joy, you must invest in presence and surrender. Nothing arrives without an exchange, because exchange is what gives value to what you receive. When you begin to honor this truth, you no longer resist the effort required. You understand that every action you take is part of the sacred process of becoming. You stop asking, "Why is this so hard?" and instead ask, "What energy is this moment asking me to give?" That simple shift changes everything. Instead of complaining about the cost, you begin to see it as the currency of transformation. Life will always require exchange. The question is not whether you will pay it, is what you will choose to pay with. You can pay with your discipline now or with regret later. You can pay with your effort today or with disappointment tomorrow. You can pay with your attention in the present or with the pain of missed opportunities in the future. The law of exchange is unbreakable, but you are the one who chooses how to participate in it. We live in a world that has been conditioned to chase convenience. From fast food to instant downloads, from quick loans to overnight success stories, society is constantly whispering that everything worthwhile should be easy, fast, and effortless, but this narrative is an illusion. Nature itself reveals that nothing valuable is born out of ease. A child takes months to grow in the womb before taking its first breath. A seed pushes through layers of soil, resisting gravity and obstacles before it becomes a tree. The universe never promised that growth would be easy. It only promised that it would be possible for those willing to endure the process. The illusion of easy is seductive because it appeals to the part of us that craves comfort. The brain is wired for efficiency, always looking for the path of least resistance. It loves routine, predictability, and familiarity. When faced with change, the body resists because change means stepping into the unknown, and the unknown feels unsafe. Yet, this discomfort is the birthplace of transformation. Growth demands resistance in the same way muscles demand tension to become stronger. Without the weight of effort, nothing evolves. The challenge with the idea of easy is that it creates false expectations. When people believe that transformation should come effortlessly, they quit at the first sign of struggle. They think struggle means something is wrong, when in fact, struggle is the very evidence that something is happening. Struggle is the sign that you are stretching beyond the familiar, that you are reprogramming your mind and body into a new pattern. But if you cling to the illusion that everything should be smooth, you will never stay long enough in the process to witness your own breakthrough. Think about the way the brain rewires itself. Neuroscience shows that every thought you repeat strengthens a neural pathway. Every time you feel the same emotion, you reinforce a chemical pattern in your body. These patterns become automatic, which is why change feels difficult. When you try to shift into a new way of thinking, your brain is literally being forced to rewire, to break old connections and create new ones. This is not supposed to be easy. It is supposed to be uncomfortable, because you are pulling yourself out of the predictable past and into the uncertain future. People often look at successful individuals and assume they found an easy road, but nothing could be further from the truth. Behind every visible triumph are countless invisible struggles, hours of unseen practice, years of unrecognized effort, countless failures, and the courage to continue when it felt unbearable. Success is not the absence of difficulty, it is the mastery of persistence through difficulty. The illusion of easy robs people of this understanding, convincing them that effort is unnecessary when effort is actually the key. There is a powerful paradox here. The very things that feel hard in the moment are the things that create ease in the future. The discipline of exercising daily may feel challenging at first, but it eventually gives you health, energy, and freedom. The courage to face your fears may feel overwhelming, but it eventually frees you from limitations. The effort to stay consistent with your vision may feel heavy, but it eventually brings opportunities and results that seem effortless to others. What is hard today makes life easier tomorrow. What is easy today often makes life harder tomorrow. The pursuit of easy keeps people trapped in cycles of short-term pleasure and long-term pain. Choosing the quick fix, the shortcut, the instant gratification may feel good in the moment, but it rarely builds the foundation for lasting change. On the other hand, choosing the harder path, the one that demands discipline, patience, and sacrifice, creates resilience, and resilience is the real currency of freedom. Once you have cultivated resilience, no challenge can intimidate you, because you know that ease was never the point, growth was. Even nature itself affirms this truth. A butterfly cannot emerge without struggling to break free from its cocoon. If someone tries to make the process easier by cutting the cocoon open, the butterfly never develops the strength to fly. The struggle is not an obstacle to growth. The struggle is the process of growth. The illusion of easy would have us believe we can bypass the struggle and still receive the reward, but the truth is that the reward is born from the struggle itself. When you stop chasing the illusion of easy, you begin to reclaim your power. You stop asking for life to be lighter and start asking for yourself to be stronger. You stop resenting the effort and start embracing it as the price of transformation. The moment you shift your perspective, discomfort becomes meaningful. Resistance becomes evidence that you are on the path. Difficulty becomes the very signpost that you are moving towards something greater. The path of real transformation asks you to release the fantasy of ease. It asks you to embrace the truth that what is worth while will never come without effort. This is not a punishment, it is a design. It is how the universe ensures that what you receive you truly value. It is how life ensures that you grow into the kind of person who can sustain the very blessings you are asking for. If it were handed to you without effort, you would not have the strength or the wisdom to hold it. So, when you find yourself in the middle of discomfort, when your mind tells you it should be easier, when your body wants to return to what is familiar, remember that the illusion of easy is the only thing holding you back. What feels hard is not a wall blocking you. It is the bridge carrying you across to your new self. The bridge may shake beneath your feet, the wind may push against you, and your legs may tremble, but with every step you take, you are proving to yourself that ease is not the path, effort is. Every human being carries within them a map of the past. This map is written into the brain, into the nervous system, into the very cells of the body. It is composed of familiar thoughts, familiar emotions, and familiar reactions that have been repeated so many times they no longer require conscious effort. This is why people often feel stuck, why they keep living the same experiences year after year even though they desire change. The brain is efficient, and once it learns a pattern, it conserves energy by repeating it. But when you want to create a new life, when you want to break free from old limitations, you are asking your mind to rewrite its map. That rewiring does not come without a price. The price of rewiring the mind is awareness, and awareness is not easy. It demands that you pay attention to yourself in ways you never have before. Most people live in unconscious autopilot, waking up and immediately running the same programs they did yesterday. They think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, and behave in the same ways, and as a result, they experience the same outcomes. To rewire the mind, you must become the observer of this cycle. You must catch yourself in the act of being your old self. That means interrupting patterns that feel natural and familiar, and that interruption feels uncomfortable because the brain interprets it as unsafe. But discomfort is the price of transformation. Every time you choose a new thought over an old one, you are firing new neural connections. Every time you choose gratitude instead of resentment, calm instead of anger, courage instead of fear, you are building new circuitry. The brain responds to repetition, and what you repeat eventually becomes automatic. This is how you reshape your internal world. Yet this repetition requires effort, consistency, and persistence. It requires you to wake up every day and consciously choose to think differently, to feel differently, and to act differently even when your body is urging you to return to the old patterns. The mind and body are in constant dialogue. When you have lived in stress for years, your body becomes chemically addicted to that stress. The cells crave the familiar surge of cortisol and adrenaline, so when you try to step into peace, your body resists. It sends signals to your brain urging you to return to anger, worry, or fear because that is what it knows. To rewire the mind, you must also retrain the body, teaching it to accept new emotions as familiar. This is not instant. It takes practice. It takes catching yourself when your body begins to anticipate the old emotional state and saying no, choosing instead to stay with the elevated state you are creating. This is why the price of rewiring the mind is discipline. Not discipline in the sense of harsh control, but discipline in the sense of devotion to the future self you are becoming. Every time you meditate on your vision, every time you step into the feeling of the life you are creating, every time you refuse to be pulled back by the gravity of old habits, you are paying the price. It may feel invisible in the moment, but beneath the surface, your brain is reorganizing itself. New synaptic connections are firing, and over time, the old circuits weaken. The price you pay in the present becomes the freedom you experience in the future. Rewiring the mind also requires you to confront the stories you tell yourself. Many of these stories were inherited. Beliefs about what is possible, about who you are, about what you deserve. They were reinforced by experiences and repeated until they became truths you lived by. But these stories are not destiny, they are programs. To break them, you must challenge them. You must be willing to ask if the belief that says I am not good enough, or life is unfair, or change is impossible, is actually true. And when you find it is not, you must replace it with a new story, one that aligns with the person you want to become. This mental editing process is demanding. It requires honesty, courage, and persistence. It requires you to let go of identities that have kept you safe but small. Another cost of rewiring the mind is patience. In a world of instant gratification, patience feels like a burden, but the brain does not change overnight. Just as it took years to wire the patterns of the past, it takes time to install the patterns of the future. You may not see immediate results, but that does not mean nothing is happening. The brain is a living organ, and with every thought and emotion, it is sculpting itself. The real transformation often happens beneath the surface before it is visible in your outer life. Trusting this unseen process is part of the price. Rewiring also means surrendering the need to always feel comfortable. The old self will resist. It will whisper doubts. It will tell you that nothing is changing, that you are wasting your time, that you should give up and go back to what you know. These are not truths. They are echoes of the old wiring trying to survive. Paying the price means continuing anyway, choosing to believe in the future more than the past, choosing to invest energy in the new self rather than feeding the old one. There is also the cost of consistency. Transformation is not a single moment of inspiration, it is the accumulation of daily choices. You cannot meditate once and expect a new mind. You cannot visualize once and expect a new reality. Just as physical exercise requires repetition to build strength, mental rewiring requires repeated practice. Each time you return to your vision, each time you embody the state of being you wish to create, you are strengthening the new circuits. It is the compounded investment of energy that creates the breakthrough. Ultimately, the price of rewiring the mind is the willingness to give up who you have been for who you are becoming. That old self is familiar, predictable, and known. The new self is uncertain, uncharted, and unfamiliar. The leap between the two requires trust, effort, and devotion. It requires you to choose the unknown over the known, the uncomfortable over the comfortable, the future over the past. It is not free, and it is not easy, but it is the only path that leads to real freedom, because when the mind is rewired, the world itself is rewired. Every experience in life is the result of a cause that preceded it. Nothing appears out of thin air, nothing manifests without an origin, and nothing unfolds without a chain of events set in motion by choices, actions, and energy. This principle is not just philosophical. It is woven into the very fabric of the universe. The laws of physics remind us that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and the same is true in the invisible field of human thought and consciousness. When you understand that every outcome you experience has a cause, you begin to recognize that you are not a victim of chance, but a participant in a precise and orderly system. Most people, however, live disconnected from this law. They look at their circumstances and see them as random, unfair, or outside of their control. They blame fate, luck, or other people for their lack of progress, not realizing that what they are experiencing is the echo of their own inner state. The thoughts they repeat, the emotions they dwell on, the choices they make day after day, these are the causes. The effects are the relationships they find themselves in, the health of their body, the abundance or lack in their life, and the sense of peace or stress they feel. Nothing is accidental. Everything is connected. The power of this law is both liberating and confronting. It is liberating because it gives you the ability to consciously shape your future. It is confronting because it forces you to take full responsibility for the present. If your reality is the product of past causes, then the only way to change it is to introduce new causes. This means your thoughts cannot remain the same, your emotions cannot remain the same, and your actions cannot remain the same if you want your life to change. To expect a new effect without changing the cause is to live in contradiction with the laws of nature. When you consciously align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the vision of your future, you are planting seeds in the field of cause. Those seeds may not sprout immediately, but they are already germinating beneath the surface. Just as a farmer must prepare the soil, plant the seed, water it, and patiently wait for growth, you must nurture the causes you put into motion. The impatience to see instant results often leads people to quit before the effect has time to manifest. They forget that cause and effect are separated by time, and that time is not the enemy, it is the necessary gap that allows transformation to take root. Consider how this plays out in relationships. If you constantly radiate distrust, defensiveness, or insecurity, the effect you experience will be distance, conflict, or lack of intimacy. If you choose instead to radiate openness, compassion, and presence, the effect will be deeper connection and trust. The cause is not outside of you. It begins with the state you bring into the interaction. The same is true in every area of life. If you dwell in scarcity, fear, and doubt, the effect will be limitation. If you dwell in gratitude, vision, and courage, the effect will be expansion. The law of cause and effect also explains why transformation requires effort. The old causes you have been repeating for years are powerful. They have momentum. Your brain has wired itself to think a certain way, your body has memorized emotional states, and your environment has reinforced certain behaviors. When you begin to introduce new causes, you are pushing against this momentum. At first, it feels like nothing is changing, but in truth, you are disrupting the old chain of effects. With every repetition of a new thought, every embodiment of a new emotion, every choice aligned with your vision, you are redirecting the flow of energy toward a different outcome. It is like steering a massive ship. At first, the change in direction is barely noticeable. The ship still seems to be moving along its old path. But if you keep holding the wheel steady, if you remain committed to the new direction, eventually the ship begins to turn. And once it turns, the entire course of your life is altered. The cause created by your persistence generates an entirely different horizon of effects. Another profound aspect of this law is that it does not operate only on the level of external action. Your inner world is also a cause. The thoughts you entertain are not harmless. They are vibrations of energy that influence the field around you. Emotions are not fleeting. They are signals broadcasting into your body and into your environment. When you hold a vision of your future and feel the emotions of that vision as if it is already real, you are creating causes in the unseen that eventually materialize in the seen. This is not magic. It is the natural unfolding of the law of cause and effect. But this also means you must be vigilant. If you continuously replay the past in your mind, if you allow your body to live in old emotions of fear, anger, or guilt, you are planting seeds that will grow into more of the same. You may want change, but your causes are aligned with your past. This is why awareness is the first step to transformation. Once you become aware of the causes you are unconsciously creating, you gain the power to choose new ones. Living in alignment with the law of cause and effect means stepping into responsibility, not blame. Blame keeps you trapped because it says your life is determined by forces outside of you. Responsibility frees you because it acknowledges that your future is determined by the causes you choose to set in motion right now. Every thought is a cause. Every feeling is a cause. Every action is a cause. Every choice is a cause, and the effects are inevitable. This is why discipline, consistency, and vision matter. They ensure that the causes you create are intentional rather than accidental. They ensure that the effects you experience tomorrow are born from conscious alignment rather than unconscious repetition. When you embrace this law, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What cause did I set in motion that created this effect, and what new cause can I set in motion to create a new effect?" That shift in perspective is the very essence of transformation. At every moment of life, you are standing at a crossroads between two paths. One is the path of unconscious comfort, the road that feels familiar, predictable, and effortless. The other is the path of conscious effort, the road that demands attention, intention, and the willingness to move beyond what is easy. Both paths have a cost. The path of comfort charges you later in regret, stagnation, and unfulfilled potential. The path of effort charges you now in discipline, persistence, and sacrifice, but it rewards you later with freedom, growth, and fulfillment. The choice is always yours, but you cannot avoid the truth that something must be paid. Conscious effort means that you stop moving through life on autopilot and begin to live with awareness. Most people drift through their days repeating patterns they did not consciously choose. They wake up, think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, and take the same actions as yesterday. This unconscious repetition may feel effortless, but it creates the same outcomes over and over again. Nothing new can enter a life lived entirely from the past. Conscious effort disrupts this cycle. It demands that you pause, that you reflect, that you choose instead of react. It demands that you wake up from the dream of the familiar and step into the discomfort of creating something new. The human brain is wired to conserve energy, and so it always prefers the known over the unknown. That is why conscious effort feels so demanding. It requires you to direct your energy toward building new neural pathways rather than coasting along the ones already established. When you choose to think a new thought, you are forcing your brain to fire in a way that it has not before. When you choose to feel gratitude in a moment where you would normally feel anger, you are creating new emotional chemistry in your body. When you choose to act in alignment with your vision instead of your fear, you are reshaping your entire identity. This process is not automatic. It requires energy, it requires deliberate choice, it requires effort, but effort is not punishment. Effort is the very tool by which you sculpt your future. Just as a sculptor must press chisel to stone again and again to reveal the masterpiece within, you must apply conscious effort to the raw material of your life to reveal the person you are capable of becoming. This stone does not shape itself. The future does not shape itself. Conscious effort is the chisel that brings your vision into form. Many resist this path because they believe effort should not be necessary. They believe that if something is meant for them, it should come easily, but this belief ignores the truth of how life operates. A tree must push against the resistance of the soil to grow. A muscle must strain against weight to become strong. A butterfly must struggle against its cocoon to develop wings. The very resistance that effort presents is the condition that makes growth possible. Without effort, there is no transformation. The cost of effort is real. It will ask you to give up immediate gratification in exchange for long-term freedom. It will ask you to surrender the comfort of excuses in exchange for the discomfort of accountability. It will ask you to trade the certainty of the familiar for the uncertainty of the new. But every time you pay this cost, you are investing in a future where you no longer have to carry the weight of regret. The price of effort today is far lighter than the price of regret tomorrow. Conscious effort also means aligning your inner world with your outer actions. It is not just about what you do, it is about how you do it. If you wake up every morning and take action from a state of resentment, fear, or doubt, your effort becomes fragmented. But if you wake up and act from a state of vision, gratitude, and belief, your effort becomes coherent, and coherence is powerful. The energy of conscious effort is amplified because it is unified by intention. When thought, emotion, and action move in the same direction, the results you create are exponential. This path also requires persistence. The old self will try to reclaim you. Your body will crave the familiar emotions of the past. Your environment will tempt you to return to old habits. The voice in your mind will whisper that it is too hard, too tiring, too much. But conscious effort is about choosing to persist despite these voices. It is about deciding, again and again, that the future you are building is worth more than the comfort of the present. Persistence is not about never falling, it is about never staying down. Each time you rise, each time you recommit, you strengthen the muscle of effort, and eventually effort itself becomes easier because it becomes who you are. Choosing conscious effort is not about making life harder for its own sake. It is about recognizing that life will always demand a price and choosing to pay it in the way that brings you freedom rather than bondage. The path of unconscious ease may feel comfortable now, but it accumulates hidden costs, declining health, unfulfilled dreams, relationships strained by neglect, potential left unexplored. The path of conscious effort may feel challenging now, but it accumulates invisible wealth, resilience, fulfillment, growth, love, and the deep satisfaction of knowing you did not betray yourself. Every day, you are asked to make this choice. Every morning you wake up is another chance to step onto the path of effort, to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with the vision of your future self. It is not a single decision, but 1,000 small ones. To rise when you want to sleep, to meditate when your mind wants distraction, to speak truth when your fear wants silence, to forgive when your pride wants revenge. Each of these choices is an investment. Each is a payment made toward the life you are building, and what makes this path extraordinary is that the more effort you invest, the more you change at the level of identity. You stop seeing effort as something outside of you, something you occasionally summon. Effort becomes who you are. You become a person who shows up, who chooses vision over comfort, who invests in the future rather than hiding in the past. This identity shift is the true reward of conscious effort, because once effort becomes natural, nothing can hold you back. Life has never been about shortcuts, handouts, or effortless victories. It has always been about exchange, about the willingness to give something of yourself in order to create something greater. Nothing is free, nothing is easy, because ease does not transform you and free does not teach you value. Every dream carries a cost, every breakthrough requires effort, and every transformation is born from the willingness to step into discomfort and stay there long enough for the old self to dissolve and the new self to emerge. The illusion of an easy path is what keeps most people trapped in cycles of mediocrity. They crave the reward without paying the price, forgetting that the price is what makes the reward meaningful. To grow, you must be willing to give energy. To evolve, you must be willing to break the patterns that have held you in place. To transform, you must be willing to persist through resistance until resistance becomes strength. The law of cause and effect is always at work, and whether you participate in it consciously or unconsciously, it does not fail. Your present reality is a mirror of the causes you set in motion yesterday, and your future will reflect the causes you set in motion today. When you align thought, emotion, and action with your vision, you are deliberately shaping the effects you will one day experience. That is the power you carry, the power to choose, and every choice is a fork in the road. You can choose the path of unconscious comfort and pay later with regret, or you can choose the path of conscious effort and pay now with discipline. Either way, life collects its due. The difference is whether you invest in your future or abandon it. Nothing is free, nothing is easy, but everything is possible for the one who is willing to exchange comfort for growth, fear for courage, and the known for the unknown. In the end, this is the great invitation: to stop waiting for life to become effortless and to start embracing the effort as the very process that makes you alive. To honor the exchange, to lean into the struggle, to recognize that the cost is never punishment but preparation. Because the moment you stop resisting the price and start paying it with intention, you discover that the life you have always wanted is not beyond you. It is waiting on the other side of your willingness to give everything you are for everything you can become.